Guys, it is that time of the week and we are back for some championship score predictions. Plenty to dive into in today's video, and as always I want to get your guys' thoughts on these matches in the comments down below. Now we do have a big game going on in the championship tonight at the bottom of the table. That sees Luton taking on Plymouth at Kenilworth Road. If you want to leave your prediction for that game in the comments down below as well, feel free to go ahead and do so. Just for the fact that this game's taking place at Kenilworth Road and there's still that question about Plymouth away from home. Obviously last time out they had that 2-0 loss away at Rovers. I'm just going to edge that one to Luton. I'm going to say Luton are going to win that 1-0, but I do expect quite a tight matchup between those two. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and preview all the matches we've got coming up this weekend in the Championship. So starting out with the first of the Friday night matches, we've got Bristol City going up against Middlesbrough at the Riverside. A big game this one in the race for the top six. Bristol City played out that 1-0 draw with Cardiff last time out, and Middlesbrough fell to a 1-0 loss at home against Watford. Michael Carrick really finds himself under pressure. It's 4 consecutive losses for Borough, and when you're in desperate need of a result, going away to Ashton Gate isn't exactly the sort of fixture you want to be going into. I know that Bristol City fairly recently had that slip up at home against Swansea, but generally speaking, they've been a pretty tough nut to crack at Ashton Gate this season. They've only lost 3 of their 16 home matches. I don't think they'll be in the mood to give out many favours to Borough in this one. From a Middlesbrough perspective, I still think there's a lot of goals in that side. And when things do click in the final third, they can be a very watchable team. But at the opposite end of the pitch, I do see Bristol City getting a goal or two in this one. Borough have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 7 matches, and Bristol City will look to play on those vulnerabilities, especially on transitions where they can be really deadly. Score prediction in this one, I'm fancying a 2-1 Bristol City home win, which could really twist the knife in at Carrick in at Middlesbrough if they lose that one. And then to the second of the Friday night matches we've got coming up in the Championship. That sees Burnley going up against Sheff Wednesday at Turf Moor. It's now 11 consecutive clean sheets for Scott Parker's men, although it has to be said, in 6 of those matches, Burnley themselves have failed to hit the back of the net. It was another goalless draw for Scott Parker's side over the weekend against Preston North End. To be fair, Burnley did get themselves in some really good areas and should have had at least 1 goal given the quality of chances they had, but North End just about managed to keep them at bay, and it is those goalless draws which could very well end up costing them automatic promotion come the end of the season. While they are on a brilliant unbeaten run right now, if you're not hitting the back of the net on a consistent enough basis, you're not going to win enough football matches. And Sheff Wednesday do have the quality to make this one a difficult one for Burnley. They obviously lost very late on last time out against Coventry. Real frustrating one for Sheff Wednesday. It was a game where on another day, they themselves could have very easily won it, but Beadle makes that mistake late on. Sims is able to pounce on it, and you end up on the losing end of it. Now, in fairness to Sheff Wednesday, this season they've had really good bounce back ability. They've not lost back-to-back matches since August, so I wouldn't be totally surprised if this one finishes as a goalless draw. I just think that with Burnley dropping points to North End last time, they're going to have to get back to winning ways in this one. Score prediction, going to go for a marginal 1-0 home win for Burnley in that game. Then next up, and to the first of the Saturday 12:30 kickoffs, we're going to Derby up against Millwall. Now, it was a pretty disastrous start for John Eustace in at Derby, being absolutely hammered by QPR last time out. They're going to want to get that out of their system as quickly as possible, but the wider form book, you have to admit, looks pretty grim for Derby right now. They're winless in their last 10, and of those last 10 matches, they've failed to hit the back of the net in 7 of them, so becoming a real problem that for Derby. Going up against a Millwall side who I obviously saw in action in midweek against my side, North End. Thought they were fairly solid, took their goal really well, Ivanovic, with that well-taken free kick in the first half. They were hanging on a little bit towards the end, but it's now just 1 loss in their last 7 league matches. I think we can put down that away trip to Plymouth where they conceded 5 goals down as a bit of a freak result, because other than that they've been pretty solid under Alex Neil recently. This one feels quite low scoring where the first goal will be absolutely crucial. Just got a gut feeling with Derby's lack of firepower right now, Millwall could nick this one and grind out a 1-0 away win. That's what I'm going to go for that game. After that, we go to a big game at the bottom end of the Championship. It's Plymouth going up against Cardiff. Now, tonight in the Championship, we've obviously got Luton playing Plymouth in a big crunch match at the bottom of the table. And if you want to hold back on predicting this game until that one has taken place, then feel free to do so. I do think the fact that this game is taking place at Home Park, it does give an obvious advantage to Plymouth, who have been really strong at home recently, including that cup victory against Liverpool. They've won their last 3 consecutive home matches, and against a side like Cardiff, who themselves have struggled to pick up consistent points on the road this season. You know, Cardiff have only won 1 away match all season. I do think that home crowd at Home Park will be really fired up for this one. From a Cardiff perspective, they did snatch a late point against Bristol City last time out, but it is taken into consideration that they have lost their last 2 games on the road. Score prediction for this one, I'm going to go 2-1 Plymouth to keep things nice and open at the bottom of the table. After that, we go to the Stadium of Light for Sunderland up against Hull, and on the back of Monday night's game where Sunderland obviously lost late on against Leeds, this one does feel like a bit of a must-win game for the Black Cats if they want to keep their top 2 hopes alive. Obviously, there is the added benefit that at least one of Leeds or Sheffield United will be dropping points this weekend because they're playing each other on Monday night. But yeah, that was a real sucker punch, that late goal they conceded at Ellen Road. And do you know what? Hosting Hull isn't the easiest of games in the world, especially on the road. The Tigers have proven themselves to be a pretty decent test for a number of decent Championship clubs. Under Ruben Seller so far, Hull have already gone to Ewood Park and won, they've gone to the Den and won, and they've taken all 3 points away from Sheffield United at Bramall Lane as well. So Hull don't tend to shy away from the big occasions. Obviously, they're coming off the back of a 1-1 draw with Norwich last time out. I think this one will be fairly tight. I'm just going to back Sunderland to get the job done. 2-1 Sunderland, I'm saying, but do you know what? I wouldn't be massively surprised if Hull nicked a point from that game. After that, we go to Coventry up against Preston. Now, Coventry are one of the form teams in the Championship right now. Since the turn of the year, Coventry have been averaging 2.1 points per game, which is automatic promotion form. Now, listen, they did get a hand of fortune in their last game away at Sheffield Wednesday with Beadle dropping that clanger late on, which Sims was able to capitalise on. But make no mistake about it, Coventry are one of the form teams in the league right now, and making a really strong case that they're going to be one of those sides snatching up a playoff spot come the end of the season. With that being said, North End, ourselves, we've been in decent form recently. We've only lost 3 of our last 17 league matches, and even away form has slowly been improving under Heckingbottom as well. Obviously, last time on the road we got a really good 3 points away at Norwich, grinding out a 1-0 away triumph, which could have easily been more than 1-0, by the way. It's also worth flagging up, Preston have been Coventry's bogey team in recent history. Preston are unbeaten in their last 14 meetings against Coventry. Whether or not Frank Lampard will be able to change that, we'll have to wait and see. I can see both sides hitting the back of the net in this one. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go for a draw. 1-1, I'm saying, between Cov and Preston. Next, then we go to Carrow Road for Norwich up against Stoke City. Now, Norwich, I haven't been firing on all cylinders recently. I think we all sort of envisaged Borja Sainz and his recent return, and we all thought that that would probably co-align with Norwich going on a decent run of form, but that's not quite transpired, has it? They've only picked up 2 points in their last 3 Championship matches. They've only actually scored 1 goal since Borja Sainz has returned as well. It was another fairly frustrating one for them last time out, a 1-1 draw with Hull. And this one against Stoke won't be a walk in the park. Now, Stoke last time out, good 3-1 triumph against Swansea, but when they fell behind around about the 60th minute, I'm sure a lot of Stoke fans were nervously looking over their shoulders and were thinking about how much they could be dragged into that relegation scrap beneath them. But 3 quick-fire goals after they fell behind ensured it was all 3 points for the Potters, and there was that brilliant Lewis Baker strike late on in that game as well, as he scored from his own half. Now, in recent history between these two, Norwich have had the better of Stoke. They are unbeaten in their last 8 head-to-head matches with Stoke. But with that being said, Norwich aren't in the best moment right now. They failed to win their last 2 home matches, and I reckon Stoke can keep this one pretty tight. Score prediction there, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. After that, we go to Fratton Park for Portsmouth up against QPR. Have a decent feeling about this game, that it could be quite watchable. Portsmouth in a really good moment right now. They've won back-to-back matches, which has really eased their relegation fears. A brilliant away win last time out at Oxford. But this one certainly won't be a walk in the park against a QPR side who you'd expect to be full of confidence right now, having recently put 4 goals past Derby. Absolutely brilliant performance from Marty Cifuentes' side. It was Ilias Chair really at his firing best in that game. He was absolutely unplayable, wasn't he? Some of the attacking combinations from QPR in that game were absolutely superb to see, but going away to Pompey is no easy fixture in the Championship. Portsmouth have actually won 7 of their last 10 home matches, which is a really mean home record. And for as good as QPR have been at home recently, they have had a bit of a slip in them when it comes to their away performances. They have lost their last 2 away matches. High scoring draw here wouldn't surprise me. I'm just going to edge it to Pompey with home advantage. Score prediction, going to go 2-1 Portsmouth in that game. Next up we go to Swansea up against Blackburn. Swansea obviously recently parting company with Luke Williams, maybe affecting some of your predictions coming into this game. Had that not happened, I think a lot of people probably would be quite high on backing Blackburn for this game, but with Williams going out, a new man in the dugout, a few people may be expecting a little bit of a bounce from Swansea in this one. Now obviously the final straw for Williams was that 3-1 defeat away at Stoke over the weekend. Since the turn of the year, only Luton and Derby have picked up fewer points than Swansea have, who have absolutely tumbled down the championship table recently. Now, this one will be a really tough match. In fairness to Blackburn, that squad has really rallied since John Eustace has left, obviously with back-to-back wins in his absence. Back-to-back clean sheets in that time as well for Blackburn, which is really impressive. I just think that maybe with Williams no longer there at Swansea, there may be a bit of a reaction from the players in this one. With that being said, I'm not sure if they'll do enough to get all 3 points. Score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between those two. Tough to call right now with the managerial situation at both clubs. Next up we go to the Hawthorns for West Brom up against Oxford. There's still a feeling at West Brom that Tony Mowbray is still yet to fully land on what his best 11 is, and I think there will be a bit of tinkering over these next few weeks until he goes ahead and figures that out. Obviously they drew 1 apiece with Millwall last time out. If the Baggies do want to make the top 6 come the end of the season, then these are the sorts of matches that they're going to need to be targeting all 3 points, and for as competitive as Oxford have been recently, this could be a decent time to be playing them. They're winless in 5, and in those 5 matches they've only scored 1, so the goals have somewhat dried up for Gary Rowett's side recently. In fairness to Oxford, obviously they went on that brilliant run of form when Rowett initially came into the club. That has given them a really good buffer zone between themselves and the bottom 3, so that if they did hit any rough patches of form between now and the end of the season, they've got that big buffer of points. So while potential back-to-back losses would be a sore one for Oxford fans to take, potentially, coming off the back of that loss against Portsmouth, it certainly wouldn't be the end of the world. Score prediction for me in this game, I am going to back West Brom to get back to winning ways in that one. I'm going to go 2-0 West Brom. After that, we've got a big crunch match coming up on Sunday at Vicarage Road between Watford and Luton. Obviously, we are recording this prediction before Luton have played Plymouth in midweek, so do bear that in mind. Now, before a ball had been kicked, if you were to ask any Championship fan which of these 2 clubs is more likely to be in a relegation battle and which is more likely to be in top 6 contention, I think the majority of us would have probably said Watford in a relegation battle, Luton for top 6 contention, but that's been totally flipped on its head this season, and you have to say Watford are the obvious favourites coming into this one, especially coming off the back of a brilliant result last time out away at Middlesbrough. Now, earlier on in the season, Vicarage Road was an absolute fortress for Watford. They were rolling out the wins with ease. Of late, that's not quite been the case. It is worth noting that Watford have lost their last 5 consecutive home matches, but when you compare that to Luton's pretty tragic away record, Luton haven't won in their last 13 away matches. It is Watford who I think most of us will probably see as the favourites for this one. Listen, Derby days can throw up some strange results, and Luton absolutely have to get themselves fired up for this one. A big statement away win in this game could be the sort of result that maybe could spur you on to safety this season, but on the balance of probabilities, I think it's got to be Watford who I'm siding with for this prediction. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Watford in that game, although draw with a few goals in wouldn't surprise me either. Then the last game we've got to look forward to coming up on Monday night, it's at Bramall Lane. It's Sheff Utd against Leeds, the 2 best teams in the Championship so far this season going head to head. Obviously, it is Leeds currently leading the way in the Championship with 72 points, but if we discount that point deduction that the Blades were hit by at the start of the season, they've also technically accumulated 72 points as well. So theoretically, 2 Championship clubs here who are both on target to get 100 points by the end of the season. That's the quality we're talking about. Now, in the reverse fixture, earlier on in the campaign, it was Leeds who got the better of Sheff Utd, won that game 2-0. It was a deserved victory in the end. Leeds were fairly comfortable. They had more of the ball, created the better chances. I think Sheff Utd, in that game away at Ellen Road only created an XG of 0.2. But I do think we'll see a different game in this one, certainly with Sheff United being a little bit more aggressive in trying to be on the front foot. Well, last time out for the Blades certainly wasn't a vintage performance or anything like that away at Luton. They got the job done, and it is 4 consecutive wins that they're coming into this game with, so a real bit of momentum behind them. Leeds will still have that spring in their step, I'm sure, from that late recovery against Sunderland, winning that game in the last minute, and it does give Leeds a bit of a cushion coming into this game where there's maybe not as much pressure on them because they've won that big game previously with Sunderland, but still a game they're going to be looking to win, I'm sure. Both teams have had brilliant defences so far this season, and do you know what? I wouldn't be totally surprised if either team wins this game sort of 1-0, but I think I'm fancying a draw. You know, I'm not keen on backing against either of these two sides right now. Score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between those two. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and make sure to drop your championship score predictions in the comments down below. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.